Hey everybody, it's Dave, Blue Jacket 66 here for another video. I'm really excited about this pickup, this acquisition, and wanted to do really a video about the card that I got. But the circumstances for which I got it were a little odd and I think somewhat interesting. So hence the thumbnail, which really does come into play, but makes maybe the acquisition of the card a little more interesting. Also, it also brings into light the differences between lower grade cards as compared to upper grade cards. You don't need to really see the card, but when we're talking lower grade vintage cards, it makes a big difference in seeing the card. So I'm really going to break this video up into 3 different sections. I really just wanted to show the card and then do another video on the circumstances about getting it, but I don't know, that seemed a lot, so I thought I would just do it all at once and I don't really and too much negativity in the video. I think that there is a little bit, but I really wanted to highlight the card because it's extremely exciting. So what I've decided after some thought here is just to show the card and the circumstances about why I wanted the card and whatnot. Then I will go into the, I think, somewhat interesting, unusual, and I think a little bit entertaining circumstances in my back and forth with an auction house for which I won it, and go into that. And then lastly, what I always do with my cards is talk a little bit about the issue itself. With this issue, I don't know a lot about it. There are experts out there for sure, especially on Net54. But let's just get into the card itself. And what I will do is I'm probably going to have breaks with this. I'm going to break it into 3 parts, and I do want to show it up close. Holding cards up never really does it for me. So within this first part, I will take a break from the camera and kind of show the card up front. So this issue is the 1933 Warsh Cigars, W-O-R-C-H, Cigars, a cigar company out of Minnesota, I believe Minneapolis, Minnesota, after the turn of the century. And I've owned issues from this before and still do. It's really full of Hall of Famers. It's a 1933 issue, but we'll get into the particulars at the end of the video. But this particular card that I'm going to show today, I saw, it's a very low population. I think PSA is graded 10. I know we talk about that all the time, but you don't, my point is you don't see it very often at all. And I saw this card, I think it was in Cleveland. The last time the show was, the last show in Cleveland, whenever that was. When is that, 2017 or so? Maybe it was a year or 2 before that, I'm not sure. But I saw it at a table, and it was pricey. It was really pricey card. As I recall it, I think it was a PSA 6 X Plus, and it was very expensive. And my adage is, if you see something unusual at the National, get it and don't walk around think about it, because that's what I did, and it was gone later. And I don't recall that I've seen maybe one since then. I'm not really sure. But this one came up for auction at Goldin auction. And I really wanted it. But the first thing I did is to reach out to a couple other collectors just to make sure that they weren't in on it or going for it. Specifically, Jason Stottlemyre, Babe Ruth collector. I wanted to make sure he wasn't after it because he's a big Babe Ruth collector, and I didn't want to infringe upon him and get into this bidding war with a friend. So he was not, so he was all on board with me going for this card, and we kind of talked about estimates we thought it would go for. Ultimately, it went for a little bit less than it is. And let's just show it right now. I'm going to show the card, let you see it. Then we'll talk into the odd circumstances of how I won it and why I don't completely trust Goldin as much as I do some of the other auctions. That's just a personal thing for me. But here it is, the fantastic and rare 1933 Warsh Cigar Babe Ruth. It's about postcard size. They're blank backs, and at the end of the video we'll kind of talk about how these were distributed and whatnot. So it's that Beautiful Conlon pose. The same one that you see in the 1929 Cation R316. That same pose. And this is just a glorious, very good 3. It's absolutely fantastic. It looks, this is back in the day when you'd eyeball things and, you know, not microscope things, and you'd look at it and you'd say, you know, that this is in excellent to excellent plus condition because it looks fantastic. So let's break away from this, take a little close-up of the card, then I'll get into the circumstances that are somewhat unusual about acquiring the card. It's always difficult, especially with these perfect fit sleeves on it and my lighting, to avoid glare. So I kind of have this angled away. You may get some other stuff in it, but beautiful image. There's some variations of this we'll talk about. I want to just kind of show you, because we're going to be talking about the condition of this card. You can see the corners. I want you to look at this area right here because that comes into the condition. And I'm really showing you nothing because what is there you cannot see with the naked eye. So there it is, 1933 Warsh Cigar, Babe Ruth. Sweet. Okay, so this is part 2 in this interesting story of my acquiring this card. So I won this card at Goldin auction, and here's the description. And I'm not this is not a bashing Goldin thing. It's just something that happened to me and why I'm careful about buying lower grade cards, really with all auction houses. But as you'll see from a incident I had with them, that why I'm extra careful with them, and I don't trust them as much as I trust other auction houses. So here I put up on the screen was their description of it. I'm going to skip over the blah 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 about what a great player Babe Ruth was, but graded very good 3 by PSA, one of 10 examples of this piece recorded by PSA Census. Babe Ruth is displayed in rich detail on the card front of this noticeably scarce postcard-sized collectible. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. The white blank back reverse is wonderfully bright and clear, while the card's corners bear evidence of mild, respectful past handling. This is a terrific blah, blah, blah. So that's their description of the card. It's a PSA 3, and their description is blank back reverse is wonderfully bright and clear, and the card's corners bear evidence of mild, respectful past handling. So, super. So I looked at the card, and you know, you can focus in on these and magnify them, and I showed you when I was showing that, why is that a 3? I mean, that's a question for me. So kind of a head scratcher there, but I figured there was something going on with it, and that I would probably just go ahead and bid on it. And then it hit me. A big red flag went up for me because I had bought and won a 1953 Stallmeyer Mickey Mantle from Goldin, I think in 2017. This card and its image can be found on their website, searching old auctions, as well in the catalog. It's well documented. Stallmeyer cards are inherently poor condition because they have stamping on them and smudging and stains because they were a hot dog, a food issue. So they're greasy and nasty. But like any other PSA 1 or poor or 2 or 3, there can be varying degrees of it. So when I won that card, the description of it, it's a PSA 1, and it did say it had 2 creases on the card. And here is the image that you can find on their website and you can find in their catalog for that card, which I bid on, which I won. And it's a fantastic looking one by my books. I didn't show the back of it. I'm sure there's some staining on it and whatnot. And the creases they mention, I can see some perhaps subtly, a couple creases, I'm not sure, but nothing major. And okay, these Stallmeyers, that's fine. That's perfectly fine with me. Until I received the card. This is the card I received. Notice anything? Maybe? I just have a regular old, CCD scanner, just like you all do. But whether it's holding that in hand or taking a camera phone picture of it or a scan, that's what the creases look like. Let's do a little comparison. So I see a difference there. Just to shoot a little bit of close-up to what I'm pointing at, if you're blind, here's another view of the 2 cards, a little more close-up. Okay, so yes, in their description of that card, they mentioned 2 creases, but when I got that card in hand, the creases were far more noticeable in hand with the naked eye, with a camera on a scanner, than the image that they had presented. So that made me think, okay, with this Wash Cigar Ruth, I'm a little nervous about it being a 3 and it looking damn good to me other than a little bit of mild corner wear. So I think at this point maybe I reached out to Jay Stallmeyer, Jason, and said, take a look at this, what you think. And he didn't really see anything either on it, but I was like, I can't, I'm not bidding on this card because I had a little discrepancy in what I viewed to be images of a card that didn't represent actually quite well what I held in my hand. So I really wanted the card. It's kind of a white whale for me. So what should I do? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I thought this was clever. I reached out to Goldin. And I'm going to read from it. I'm going to put up my correspondence with them and their answers. This is dated March 14th. Hello. Lot 53, the PSA Wash Cigar Babe Ruth, and my grammar's not the greatest here. What accounts for the 3 grade? Specifically, are there any creases, wrinkles, or paper loss? Your description of modest corner wear does not really account for the 3 grade. Are there any other issues, especially any I listed? Sounds like a reasonable question to a reasonable and very reputable auction house. Here is their response from Courtney. Hello, Dave. Thank you for reaching out to us. I'd be happy to assist you. If you have any concerns as far as how items are graded, please take a look at PSA grading standards, and they list their website. The grading of the items is a subjective process that requires PSA to exercise its professional judgment. Then highlighted, Goldin makes no representation or warranties with respect to the grade assigned by PSA to the item, and shall have no responsibility related to the grade that is assigned to an item. To the extent that you have a dispute with PSA relating to the grading of item, you must resolve that dispute directly with PSA in accordance with their terms and conditions published on PSA site. Please let me know if there's anything else I can assist you with. Courtney, you do understand what I asked them. Hey, it's a 3. Are there any problems with the card I'm not seeing? So I wrote back to them, hi, so you won't tell me if the item has any creases, wrinkles, or paper loss? To refer me to PSA grading guidelines is, as you know, not helpful at all. I'm quite familiar with their guidelines. I was certain your reputable auction house, as others do, would answer a prospective bidder's inquiry on a $10,000 plus item. I'm simply asking for an accurate description of the item, and I'd appreciate your help with my inquiry. Dave Berg. They answered me quite quickly. Courtney did. Hi, Dave. Unfortunately, I'm unable to provide you with that information as we did not grade the card. You can refer to the guidelines as to why the item accounts for the 3 grade. Please let me know if there's anything else I can assist you with. Zero chance I was bidding on that card. Zero chance. But I didn't let it drop. And I certainly wasn't going to reach out to Goldin anymore. Would you? So what did I do? I researched that particular card. And I found that it had been sold at Robert Edwards' auction at one point. I don't have that paper in front of me. I hope I have the correspondence, or actually the listing, but that listing says when they sold it, modest cornerware, beautiful copy, small crease in left upper corner. So I went to their auction site, went to their past auctions, found that card, found their photograph, and it was identical to Goldin's. So Goldin had a beautiful photograph, wouldn't give me a description. REA disclosed there's a crease on this card in the left upper corner, but I looked at their picture, I magnified it, you couldn't see it. I'm going to go for this card now. Thank you, REA, for giving me a peace of mind. Incidentally, this correspondence annoyed me so much. You know what I did? This is petty. But I immediately got onto Robert Edwards' auction site. I found a PSA 3 T206 card. Can't even remember who it was. It said it had a crease on it. I emailed them. Regarding this lot, this T206 with the crease, can you tell me about the crease? Does it go through to the back of the card? Are there any other subtle issues? I got a email back within 15 minutes. Hi, Dave. The crease is small. It's the only crease on the card. It does not go through to the back. Let me know if you have any other questions. That's the way it is with REA, I'm telling you. I had a question about a plank card, not a T206, plank card, late last year, and I emailed them a question about it because it had been hand cut and I had questions. My email I got back from them was, Brian Dwyer will be calling you back. And so the head of the company, the president of the company, calls me back and keeps me on the phone for 15 minutes talking about the fantastic issue in the card. Okay. So that is why I was a little hesitant to bid on this card, and I would not have bid on this card and won this card had it not been for their premier auction house, Robert Edwards Auctions. Okay, so let's get on a little bit with this nice Warsh cigar set. So Warsh was I didn't research this really. I just know it's a cigar company in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the turn of the century. And these issues, it sounds like there's 3 issues. What you saw, the Babe Ruth, is part of a 1933, they have a set of, I think, 146 Major League Baseball players, where you have Ruth, you have Lou Gehrig, both as wonderful Conlon pictures, stances. You have Jimmy Fox, Hornsby, Connie Mack, whole host of stars. And those came out in 33. Maybe they came out in 33, 34. And the way you would get these is It's my understanding is you would send in the what do they call the rings around the cigar? You'd send in X amount of those, and they would send you a pictures. And there's proof of that. There's been people that have found envelopes from War Cigar that have photos within them. Actually, these mailing envelopes are not extraordinarily rare. There's a fair amount of them out there, I guess, and most of them are mailed to people in Minnesota. So it seemed to be a local thing, although there's been an envelope found, I think, to Wisconsin or whatnot. So it sounds like that there was a set. The first set that Warsh did was in 1932, and it was a set of 24 cards of the American Association team, the Minneapolis Millers. And then the next year is when they came out with the Major League Baseball players, 146 players. And that may have spanned a couple of years sending out those cards. And then their last series was a series of, again, minor leaguers. It's called the American Association set. And that's over 100 cards too. I don't think that's fully checklisted, is my understanding. So, there's variations to these cards. They're essentially blank back, but there have been a few that have postcard backs that have been found. The images themselves, some of them are clear, like my Ruth, are clearly black and white. Other of them are that little sepia type tone to it. There's variations at the bottom of the card where the player's name is. There's variations of the player. There's probably a few other variations, I'm sure. You can research it, but it's really a beautiful set of cards, and the images are just, for the most part, fantastic. I think that this Ruth is just a stunning piece. I mean, I like the Cation issue as well, the R316, but on this Warsh cigar, it just stands out at you. It's kind of glossy, and it's a far rarer issue, and in my book, far more desirable. Although, don't get me wrong, I love the Cations, and I love that Ruth Cation. So that's it. That's my 1933 Warsh cigar, Babe Ruth card, along with a little bit of oddity, controversy, maybe me just being a little bit stingy or overly skeptical, and then a little bit of information on that set. So hope you enjoyed it. Maybe research the set. There may be a player you like within it. Thanks for watching.